Testing. 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 Hey, William, what's going on? Yeah, I'm going to be starting a channel soon. Talk a little bit about angel investing and
Hey, William, what's going
space
on?
tech.
Yeah, I'm going to be starting.
Running through the a bunch of different programs here. I've got StreamYard, which is pretty exciting. And I'm testing out a number of different things here. So I've been doing some investing through my own family office called Carvalho Capital. And I've started to launch a fund, a space tech fund actually, called, I'll share this tab, called Humanus. So what's been happening on your end? How are things? You know why? Because I think I had, I'll turn off the music here. I had I think I had the sound on. So how's that? Does that sound pretty clear? I'm also watching the stream live. So I've got a bunch of different things happening here. Let me see if I can add myself. I'll show you my setup. So I've got let's see here. Get some feedback. Looks like that's a lot better. So I've got let's see here. Get some feedback. Looks like perfect. So I've got some lights happening here. Got the full on. Is that a Sony A7C? A few other lights. Got a sort of Rodecaster soundboard, so it allows me to make some sounds happening. So I've got a little theme music. I've got the usual sounds. And then I've got this Rodecaster mic, which I'm using, obviously. And yeah, just trying to test out, see what's going on here. This is a pretty cool program. I can add different things. Yeah, that's really about it. Oh, awesome about the life license. That's great. Everybody's coming out of COVID. Hopefully everything was good on your end. I'll shut this a little bit down here. Let's see here. This other setup here, which I'm getting rid of. Yeah, hopefully that got rid of the choppiness here. Let me just make a. This is pretty sweet. As you type into the comments, I can actually go ahead and put that up on the screen, which is pretty cool. How's it streaming? Is it streaming pretty clearly? Is it slow? Is it choppy? So what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'll be chatting quite a bit about space tech, and kind of getting into angel investing. What I really want to do is be able to comment on things as they take place in real time. So this is pretty sweet. Any lag and your voice is clear. Yeah, that's great. That's great. This software is called StreamYard. And I'll bring it up. It's actually started by one guy from Victoria. He was an engineer from Victoria, BC, and the other guy was from Oregon. They actually just sold their company to another bigger kind of events company called Hopin. Where's Hopin? Yeah, here's Hopin. Yeah, this is all about online immersive virtual events. Let me just show the tab. Yeah, there we go. Which is crazy. These guys only started during COVID, I think, which is totally nuts. Let me just share. I use this thing called PitchBook. I can look up any company that's ever acquired investment. Hop in. Yeah, these guys were privately held. They started in 2019, and then just getting tons of traffic. I mean, 200 employees. They're now at 1,000 employees. That's insane. Yeah, 2019 they were started right here. I can zoom in. How does that zoom in there? That's way better. You can see that. Leo, they need group benefits. Yeah, exactly. Probably at 1,000 people, they probably definitely need group benefits. Yeah, software has some pretty cool stuff going on here. Did it snow? I guess it snowed for where you are as well, right? The whole Ontario got snowed in. But not that much, obviously, but it definitely put a damper in my preparing my lawn. Not a huge amount. I gotta play with these settings, add some music, some background music. Yeah, this software seems to be working pretty well. That's great feedback. It's streaming clearly. You can hear my voice clearly. I'll have to figure out when I add different things, different sections here. Let me just see if I go to Bloomberg, if I showcase that. And then I'm going to mute myself and then just see if we can hear Bloomberg. Yeah, it looks like it's. Oh, wait, let me see here.
Pain rages on.
They will be putting the issue of Ukrainian statehood in question.
What is happening is a genocide of Ukrainians.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Putin.
Putin must fail.
Turn to Bloomberg for up-to-the-minute reporting from around the world.
1.2 million people have crossed over from Ukraine into Poland.
Fastest growing refugee crisis since World War II. The latest target, a children's hospital and maternity ward. Putin has gone all in.
And analysis of what it all means to you.
The corporate exodus continues.
To continue the pressure on the Kremlin.
We could see an energy blockade. That would have a massive and devastating impact on the German economy.
For every dollar the United States could lose with the sanctions, the European Union stands to lose 10.
The world has a food security problem already, a huge one.
The Russia-Ukraine invasion is going to be worse for global poverty than the pandemic has been.
I think we're in for a long slog.
For continuing coverage from Ukraine and around the world, keep it tuned to Bloomberg Television and Radio.
From New York City.
We're in London, in Sydney, in San Francisco.
9 a.m. in Beijing and Shanghai.
Good morning, everyone.
Have a great evening.
So recap the headlines.
You do not want to miss this
How
story.
are you thinking about those dynamics?
Continues pushing now.
I do have like a VU meter through my Rodecaster kind of dashboard, but I think I need to get some type of splitter as well. The thing with going back and forth with software and hardware is it's trying to figure out what is going to be the most stable. The hardware is what I've been investing in just so because it's more stable. So I'm still learning about what is what, but I ideally, like right now, this was just showcasing the actual live stream from Bloomberg, but it's not on a separate device. It's still on the same device in Chrome. In the software, you can mute that specific tab that you're showcasing. But it doesn't connect to the hardware. Don't know if that explanation makes sense, but.
Thanks to surging energy prices and China's economic recovery, China's biggest oil refiner posted annual net income of $11 billion, more than double the 2020 figure and beating estimates. And coming up, our next guest says despite facing atrocities, the Ukrainian defense is not waning. We'll discuss the endgame of Russia's war with Sonia Mitsak from the Australian National University. This is Bloomberg.
Yeah, now I'm gonna see if I switch my feed to my mic. I don't know if this has changed anything here. I'm gonna bring the mic up a little bit as well. Go back to the settings here. So my mic is on the Rodecaster mic. Let's see if I can play everything through my stereo as well. A little louder. Okay. Maybe this will. There we go. Should get to 15. How's that? So yeah, I can see the decibel levels for the mic and anything else. I'm trying to see if I can connect all of this to the Rodecaster Pro dashboard here. Okay, here we go. See what happens.
This is a market that over the past made it clear it wants to go higher. It got a little spooked by the idea that geopolitical tensions are rising.
Yeah, agreed. It'd be better if they had a line to adjust for online
First
feeds.
element, we have taken unprecedented sanctions. It's the fourth package of sanctions, and we are working now to implement those sanctions. Point one, point
crank
two.
it up a bit
We
there.
are aware that there are some loopholes
And
that
we
are
are
possible,
hitting, definitely
and
hitting 15.
we've started a commission, to make sure that we are
15,
able
test,
to close as much as possible those loopholes.
Test.
We agreed now to really look deep into the loopholes we discover now, or the circumventions that some try to take, and to do everything within their own respective system to close the loopholes and to make the circumventions impossible.
European leaders talking about sanctions on Russia. Now, Germany's ambassador to the U.S., Emily Haber, says the country plans to end its reliance on Russian coal by September of this year and the use of Urals oil by year-end. Haber spoke in an interview with Bloomberg's Guy Johnson and Kriti Gupta.
First of all, it's a sea change in German thinking. Previously, hyperconnectedness was considered to be part.
Yeah, I can increase my mic considerably. Okay, I'll stop all that. Let's see here. Mic is pretty high right now. Bloomberg feed was louder than me. Yeah, okay. Let's see here. What else can I do? Test. 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 Yeah, good question. I'll have to look into the software aspect. Now I think I feel quite loud on my side. Test. Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming on board. Great to know you're doing well. Everything's kicking butt. Yeah, we should be launching it this week, so there should be some fun programming. And yeah, it's always a work in progress to get these things figured out, but it should be a lot of fun. If you can tune in whenever we're live, let me know. Awesome, Bill. Have a great one. Thanks so much for the feedback. I'm going to keep testing on my side here. Let's see if I can hear anything on my... Yeah, sounds good. This sounds good. Testing. Welcome. Welcome. We'll keep testing here.
Ourselves from energy.
That 8-year history needs to be taken into account as well.
Does just the extraordinary level of impassioned defense from civilians, as you say, on the ground, make a high-level negotiated definition of neutrality or compromise even more difficult?
Look, I don't believe so. I think that there are some points on which President Zelensky will be able to give some ground. For example, he has in effect said that he is prepared to reconsider Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO. However, it should also be said that he has also been saying that there needs to be
Perfect. So the mute works. That is great. Testing. Perfect. So the mute works.
kind of inconsistent message does not assist Ukraine. I think that we see perhaps more leadership in statements coming from Poland at the moment. The Polish Prime Minister within the last few days has ramped up the discourse in a sense, even again mooting the idea of sending some peacekeeping forces. The Polish Prime Minister has actually stated recently that we cannot allow the threat of nuclear weapons to stop us from acting. Now, that I believe, is a very, very strong statement, and the leadership that we're seeing coming from Poland, together with some other Eastern European countries, does seem to be more consistent. And yes, I agree that the United States perhaps needs to take that kind of approach.
Russian invasion, when at the same time Russian people don't seem to understand what exactly is going on, given
will not be allowed to be aired. So certainly subject to state-controlled Russian disinformation, Russian people do not clearly understand what's going on. You mentioned my family. Well, of course, this is a very, very distressing situation for me personally. My family come from a city called Chernihiv. It's in the northeast. And unfortunately, Chernihiv is fast becoming the new Mariupol. The city is blockaded. There's no water. There's no electricity. Food shortages. At the moment, 60% of the city of Chernihiv has been destroyed. 60%. And at what I'm also being told by contacts that are still in Chernihiv is that the archive, the KGB archive, so in other words, the archive which revealed to us the atrocities committed by the Soviet Union, is being burned. Books on Ukrainian history are being removed from libraries and burned. So we see already the attempts at Russification that the Ukrainian population understood would occur under a Russian occupation. In my family situation, the young man has remained in Chernihiv, voluntarily remained to fight and defend his city. His wife and young children are now evacuees in Poland and are waiting, thinking about their next step.
Sonia, thank you so much for joining us at this time. Research Fellow at ANU Centre for European Studies. Sonia, amidst that there, we do have some breaking news crossing the Bloomberg on Star Entertainment. The gaming group CEO, Matt Beckia, has tendered his resignation. Matt was a member of the board of the Australasian Gaming Council as well, and previously had been the CFO and the executive director of Star Entertainment. So we are hearing that Matt Beckia has tendered his resignation. This coming, of course, amidst difficult times for the group. Star Entertainment shares have been falling to their lowest in about 17 months. Early in the month, we heard evidence at an ongoing inquiry into the company's Sydney casino that stoked concerns.
Yo, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I wasn't sure if you had something going, so I didn't say anything.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm just testing this thing out. One second, let me just turn off. Man, I got all these different monitors going here. Let me show you my setup here. One sec. You're looking at what? You're looking some kind of dark domain back there, buddy. What's going on there? What do you got going on in the back?
Yeah.
I'm gonna invite myself here. One second. So I'm using this streaming software called Live StreamYard.
Yeah.
So some Vic boys actually invented it. Hey, like this one engineer out of UVic invented it, and they just sold to Hopin for like $250 million. They invented it in like 4 years, which is crazy.
It's crazy how many like Canadian-based tech companies are like doing well. Like,
Yeah, I didn't even know these guys existed. They're like totally under the radar. This is crazy shit going on here. Let's go. Okay. So I've got this little thing here I got all set up here.
oh wow, you've got the freaking setup.
Yeah, well, I was doing it for my podcast, so I had bought it all last year. And I had like little sounds or whatever. And then I've got a full little monitor here. Nice little monitor. There's that. And then I've got the old AC A7C. And
That's a Sony, like, yeah, SLR thingy.
Yeah, Sony SLR. And then I've got some more lights and this Rodecaster mic. And then I've got this TV here, which I've set up. But I'm going to do stuff, like have stuff connect to that as well. So like during the stock market days, I can follow what's going on.
Yeah.
Let me turn this off. What else is there? That's really about it, dude. So how you been, man? What's going on?
It's been a crazy, like, I just started slowing down with work lately.
Yeah.
It's going pretty crazy for like the last well, since like for a year, like I was working like insane amounts. So
And you're working for that that Vic company, is that right?
yeah. So I was on a new gig and I was just doing contract work for, it's like a lot of government contract stuff, right? So
yeah,
I was working for BC registries and
and you had that emergency app that you were working on, I remember, right?
Yeah, BC Wildfire. Yeah, I
Cool.
was on that for a while. And yeah, Udi's still working on that. But I just switched off onto another project.
Nice.
So yeah.
So Odie works for the same company, or is he working for the guy?
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Okay, crazy. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. How long has that been going on?
Forever.
Oh, really? Hey, that's awesome.
I mean, I've been at this company for,
You've been for like 10 years or something, probably, right?
it's probably like 15.
Almost.
Like yeah. It's like around 15 years maybe.
That's as good as Alcan Bucks consistency.
Yeah.
And what is he? Is he a developer?
Yeah.
Back end, front end, DevOps, or anything,
full
stack.
We basically, like, me and Odie are pretty much like super full stack because we do DevOps. Well, I do more DevOps than him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my current, yeah, that's kind of like what but it's very hard. Like most people are just specialized in front end or back end now, and then or they do DevOps. But yeah, because it's hard to specialize. Otherwise, like it's just like even though I can do front end, back end, and DevOps, like I'm not as specialized as like some of the other like people that are just like full-time back end or front end.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
But the thing with that is that like I've always had a thing where I want to do my own stuff. So like the mindset was always like, yeah, I don't care if I'm kind of like, just
Building.
not as specialized as some people, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to do marketing, like, and build full systems myself.
Yeah.
When I do make that jump. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I mean, you've seen the life cycle of probably so many products getting pushed out.
Yeah.
And so much has changed in 15 years. Like, all the different... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and like just like the large organizations, small organizations, like government, and I'm able to see like all the different like flaws and also advantages of different kind of setups, right?
Yeah, for sure. And especially, I assume with the governments, you're talking about kind of these waterfall projects. At some point, you might have run into those that might have gone on forever versus, quick deployment, build quick, get out there. I mean, that emergency app. I mean, how long did it take for you guys to get like V1 out? Were you guys
no time?
No time, right? Just quick, right?
Well, that's why the like it kind of I've been there's lots of like gov kind of like branches that are like super, like even if you're able to ship something fast, like their processes like stop it from happening, right?
Right, yeah.
Like because they want to have, like, if they want to deploy something, they want to have a freaking meeting like a month in advance or whatever. And then you have to go through their like environments or whatever.
Yeah, QA must be pretty brutal.
Yeah. And then sometimes, like, for wildfire, it was a bit better. You still have to go through a bunch of hoops. But yeah, that was a couple months of work and we got it out. But like the place I'm working at right now, like the registries,
yeah,
it's super interesting because they're hardcore agile, actually. So we're shipping like frequently, and because they have, I don't know if you've heard of this thing, they've got this thing called the lab.
No.
That like where, like, so the government created this thing called the lab, and basically it's like a kind of incubator kind of project where they're running like totally, like, it's this group, and like certain government teams can basically go into this lab setting.
Yeah.
And it's basically teaching, like they've already got a core like platform group that are developing like on Kubernetes and just like like the latest and greatest kind of platforms, and they're teaching like agile, and they're just building all this infrastructure that is like more modern. So like this one BC Registries modernization,
that's crazy to hear, to be frank. Yeah.
It's crazy because because I've been in the government space as a contractor forever, so I know like how like slow moving and like how it works in like the waterfall model, right?
Yeah.
So now they've got this team like for BC Registries, like they're basically this modernization project I'm on. They're rewriting like everything, but the team that's doing it, like, it's basically all contractors, and then you know how government works. They basically, the people that do the work are the contractors, right?
Yeah.
And then they just have like BAs and like POs and from the government watching over, and then they have like they have a team like that's government that just knows, because eventually the contractor is going to go away,
right?
And they have a team that actually knows how to like run the software or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, we have this team that's working in the lab environment. And so we get to use do pure agile, and basically use the latest and greatest kind of stuff at the lab. And we're just rolling out, we're doing pure agile and kind of rolling out software pretty frequently. Like we're using freaking feature flags and all that kind of stuff that you sometimes even most private companies aren't using, right? So kind of crazy. We're doing all this data science kind of stuff and totally unexpected.
And did that happen during the BC Liberals government, or did it happen during the NDP, or when did that take place? Or was it even relevant to that department?
I don't know. It started maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so yeah, just probably. When did they get into government? They got into government in 2017, 18 or something, I think. So, but yeah, that's crazy because I hear from Ottawa all the time, the federal government had too many projects that were way over budget and waterfalled, but they don't seem able to adopt an agile type of environment. And they're literally burning through millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they're confused. They're just like, is there a different way? That's super crazy to hear that that's what's happening. It's really impressive.
Super crazy. We have freaking, we actually have I've never been in a project where we have such hardcore agile practices, and we have a couple designers where we have it's just crazy, the grooming sessions and everything. It's super impressive that they've been able to. Obviously, you're still working with government staff, so there's a lot of those, you can't really depend on a lot of them because they're they're every second week they're flexing and they're not gonna be working, even though it's a hardcore culture where I'm at right now, even for Gov, which is kind of weird. But they're still I'm done at this time kind of thing, right?
Yeah, 5 p.m. and they clock out and don't talk to me after that.
Yeah. Or there's for some of them it's they won't even show up for meetings or whatever, and
crazy.
That kind of stuff.
So I assume it changed quite a bit. Did it change quite a bit during COVID? What was that experience like?
You mean for work?
Yeah, I assume it probably didn't change as much on your end. It was probably more on the government side that people were staying at home and probably had to get secure laptops.
Obviously I've been doing remote forever.
You're the original OG for remote.
Yeah. So it was a plus for me, right? Because now I'm on a level playing field. Because even though Highway 3, the company I work for, was already very kind of used to that idea. Because a lot of because besides we have a lot of US based clients too. So naturally that's remote setting, right?
Yeah.
But some of the other a lot of times we're working on because Highway 3 is still kind of small, so we team up with some other Victoria companies that actually own the larger contract, right? So there's one company that Vivid that we team up for Wildfire, and they kind of own the contract. But they always liked having people on site. Just kind of watching over the contractors to make sure they're actually not because some people, it's a trust issue, right? Because some contractors are pulling multiple gigs and
For sure, yeah.
and things like that, right? But it was always like such a thing with this company, like Vivid. I remember like at one point before they even trusted me, like there was a period where almost a year I was flying back and forth every week from
Really?
Victoria to like Vancouver to Victoria, and like from Monday to Thursday I would be in freaking Victoria.
Crazy. You're on the
It was
seaplane taking out.
yeah,
taking out-
yeah. It was, but I mean, it was cool for like a little while, and then it was like pretty shitty, right?
Yeah, like frick, I gotta
'cause-
get on this thing. It's so loud on that plane, you know.
and that like just those few hours, like it's a lot. Like the context switching and like traveling, like just even though the seaplane is freaking amazing, like,
Yeah.
and I live downtown, it was so easy, right?
Yeah, you just boom.
But
right there.
even then, it's like just that little a couple hours here and there is huge, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah, with COVID, like now everyone, like, yeah, with Vivid, like their culture was like people would like ghost you, like especially since even when I was there physically, they don't like talking to people.
Weird.
Like, so you know, they just want you to do your own thing, like without asking questions or whatever.
Yeah.
So pretty shitty culture that way, and with like they wouldn't answer you on Slack. So even when you're remote, it's even worse, right?
Yeah.
And then the remote kind of like Zoom and stuff like that, they didn't really have the tooling, and even if they did, like when they set up like a meeting, like you'd miss out on certain, like, you know how you have like ad hoc conversations and
Yeah.
stuff like that, like maybe after the meeting or whatever, like
Yeah.
you'd miss out on stuff like that, right?
Right.
And so now that, like with the pandemic, everyone is on a level playing field, right? You need the tooling
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah, for me it was great, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone is like buying into that now because they have to.
Yeah. And the mentality changes. Like clearly operating online creates a unique behavior to engage, right?
Yeah.
And obviously every single meme that was created for Instagram was always about that. About like in the
Yeah.
beginning it was about being engaged. Okay, you know, and then 6 months later it's like people are just showing up with like a shirt and then shorts on. And then, a year later they're not even turning on their video anymore. They're just like listening in the background doing something. So I think it seemed like it was a big shock to people that weren't remote on like what the possibilities of remote were. You actually were saving
Yeah.
a significant amount of time. But when you were engaging, if it was through Slack, it was going to be highly targeted. So you're going to get something out of it, which is
Yeah.
what I found people realize, that you could create an ecosystem where you're engaging with people, you're getting what you want, you're still having a good time, but you're not wasting time with like random stupid conversations, which is really
Yeah.
crazy to think that that's how we operated for so long.
Yeah, and there's that whole thing where people thought that you needed to be physically
Mm-hmm.
in the same place to be, and also that like if you're in like the office, you're going to be more productive. Like I'm pretty sure people realize now that it's actually the opposite, right?
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating to see Apple and Google make decisions to try and force some of their employees back. And because they've clearly deployed products over the last 2 years, right? So I don't think they can create an argument to say, well, we need people in a room so that ideas can combine and we can build and innovate new stuff. That I think they have enough data to support that they've already built innovative stuff during COVID. They don't need people in a room to do that. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch, to see if the innovation levels of these products change. But how could they? It's the same process for designing a feature set. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. It's interesting.
I think, yeah, I mean, there's probably multiple reasons there. Like, there's probably people pulling multiple gigs. That's like probably one thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for some, I think, yeah, the hybrid model is definitely the way to go, and also kind of like personal choice. Like, I hear a lot of companies like they're gonna, the bigger ones, like Tuesday to Thursday,
You have to
you
be
go into the office is kind of like in a like a nice kind of
compromise.
balance. But for some people, yeah, they just, you know, they don't see the value in, why am I commuting, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a family and stuff, like, yeah.
Yeah, especially, I mean, we don't have families, but I mean, I heard from fathers who were just like, yeah, I don't know why I was driving to Vancouver for an hour, in the morning, or like literally 3 hours of my day is being wasted in traffic. That makes no logical sense.
Yeah.
So I think, and you saw it here in Toronto. So many people have moved out of downtown Toronto and now are living in Whitby, which is like the equivalent of Mission, BC. That's the equivalent in terms of the distance.
Yeah.
And you can have a really decent lifestyle. And I was listening to some Gary Vee today, and he made another good point that, like, there's generations of people that realize they can just make money doing stuff online, now. And they don't, the issue is going to be retention of staff for the big companies. I think there's already an issue of HR already. But it's going to become worse because people are realizing that, yeah, I don't even need, I don't even need this type of job, like this type of remote. I can even have a better remote working lifestyle. Like, I can upgrade my remote lifestyle in a unique way. That's the crazier part.
Yeah, because like there's like before, like let's take Victoria, like,
yeah,
like that Vivid company is losing. Actually, the government is losing tons of people too. Like, and that Vivid company is they're having major retention issues. I mean, they're dicks to begin with, but like, my theory is like, that's part, like, you can't be a shitty company. Like, you can't treat
Right.
your employees shitty anymore, because like before, if you were in Victoria, then you're kind of constrained to whatever like jobs are available in Victoria.
Yeah.
Like, it was still possible if you're in tech to, but now it's like wide open, right? Like, it's accepted that like even Silicon Valley is hiring from everywhere now, right? So like, now you're competing, and that naturally brings the salaries up, right? Because like, a lot of companies, they're doing away with that whole thing where, oh, if you're in, Vancouver, you're gonna get less pay. Like, I think that some companies are starting to just like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you work for us, and like, a senior engineer is gonna get this. And so you're dealing with those kind of things too, right? Like, it's no longer, you have to compete for talent, like with the big boys, right? So
yeah,
so people are gonna have to get like creative, and yeah, the creator, like, a lot of people, like, they're willing to take less money, right? Like, to be able to work remotely too, right? And yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if you think about it, you move north anywhere, whether it be you're moving from California to Texas, or you're moving from Toronto all the way up to Muskoka, or you're moving from Vancouver to Kitimat, the difference in your life affordability is significant. So yeah, maybe you're missing out on $20K from Google, but that doesn't really hamper your lifestyle at all. You can still do significantly more, and I think a lot of these folks that move from California to Texas are seeing that. Like, you can buy for $300,000, you can buy an 8-bedroom home in some part of Texas, right? Like that's like a signing bonus for a developer if you're joining Google or joining one of these firms these days, you know?
Yeah, and like things like, well, nowadays, like, you know, high-speed internet is just like so
It's ubiquitous, yeah.
Yeah, but like even if you get a bit more hardcore, like Starlink,
Yes.
like
Bingo.
that's you know, you can be anywhere now.
Yep.
And still like
Execute.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at this software. So, have you seen any interruptions on it? Like, it's been pretty smooth.
It's been pretty awesome, like impressive.
So yeah, this is live. This is sorry. What did I call it? It is StreamYard. I'm not physically plugged in. I should always have my MacBook plugged in to hardwire, but it's not. It's wireless.
Oh, crazy.
I'm in my basement, so there's definitely like reception. I'm plugged into all these different things. So far, so good. It's totally crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see any lag on my side, so.
No, none on mine. Yeah, super impressive actually. like, and also, yeah, so like super easy to use.
Yeah, and did you, I guess you have your iMessage up on your computer, so you probably just click the link, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then boom, it popped up.
Yeah.
Like, it was probably quicker than Zoom, I think.
Oh yeah, way quicker.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's yeah, no, it's the nice thing is, yeah, it's totally seamless, right?
Yeah, I hope they don't. The guys are still the guys in Victoria are still working on the company, even though they sold it. So hopefully it doesn't change too much. But yeah, super impressive piece of software. You know, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because right now my day job is essentially I've just been last year just was committed to investing into space tech companies because I'm going complete edge, right? Like I'm going as far as to innovation as possible. I no longer want to deal with like people asking me about the stuff that I am interested in. If you want to learn about lifetime value, I'll still have a conversation about LTV, but I'm not going to get into like how to build the next, you know, e-commerce company. I don't want to, I'm not interested in selling stuff anymore. I think there's enough stuff to be sold. So my last year I was just doing investments, like talking to like crazy people. You know, one guy I was talking to, which we invested in, was talking about a fusion engine that he's going to use on a starship. You know, like at a point between the Earth he takes off from the Earth and they have to get to the moon, and they need some energy to get from here to here, like just, you know, from Caltech, like crazy level, next level thoughts.
Yeah.
And then I've been building a fund. Actually, this is kind of cool. Let me just see if I can pass this out. So, you know, I said, well, I'm going to start going on and see if I can start to build more of a community online, essentially. And that was the catalyst for just doing this now. Let me see here. Okay, this is kind of cool. Just playing with the layouts here. Isn't that crazy? Look how freaking dope. Like, this isn't even hardware, right? Like hardware, you can do this with hardware, but this is just pure play software. So yeah, this is a little website here. And then this is so crazy. I can just easily switch over to hear this. And then I've got this fund I'm raising, and we've already done some investments into some space tech companies. This one's in Winnipeg. The rest are in the US. There's a few that are not here. And so I've come up with this idea of really now investing into space tech companies.
That is crazy.
Yeah, but the key, the key. Let me just show you something here.
Oh, I mean that in a good way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I take it. I take it as the same. It is totally. Let's see if I can share. This is so cool. I can actually just share my screen, share my monitor. I'm surprised these guys sold out because this stuff is pretty dope. What these guys have done. Yeah, thanks for jumping on too. This allows me to test this because I didn't know what was going to happen here with this whole thing.
No, this is good. We should do this more. Me and Trevor are like kind of.
I know you guys talk a lot more regularly. He said you guys are like
one. Well, for a while we were on once a month. Now it's more like every couple months, mainly because he's kind of like crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I'm crazy busy too for a good year there. And yeah, we're like, yeah, it kind of works out because he's like on. He gets up early too, right? So
yeah,
we do like crazy early conversations.
So yeah, so basically I'm focusing on a few things. I'm focusing on this being like an impact fund. So it really focuses on if you have a startup, a space tech company, the solutions have to connect to something related to the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. And you're going to ask, how do we track that? But so we're seeing we've started to see already companies who are creating solutions in the space economy, and the result helps solve issues like poverty, clean water, things like that. And then so I came up with this thesis that I'm just looking at space tech companies that are controlling the application of data. And so that could be like a satellite company, that could be a software company. There's many examples of it. And so my last, my last 6 months have been kind of crazy because I've just been raising money for this fund and focused in on companies that are building space tech. So there's an ecosystem SaaS play there launching. So there's like satellites and actual offline hardware equipment. Downlink, which is like data being sent down to different systems. And then we've got, the usual suspects of storing, analyzing, and stuff like that. So this is for like the old 60-year-old man. I have other slides that are significantly a lot more in depth. But if you're like, oh, hey man, well, like how the fuck does space relate to the reality of the worlds? But it does. Like an example here is, we've seen that space assets have a better understanding of crop management. They have a better understanding of weather patterns, and that's going to help vulnerable communities understand, where we can get food from. We've seen some changes. The International Space Station is like the first human inhabited sustainable community, and they basically have to reuse and recycle everything that's possible, oxygen, water, or whatever. So those are all super applicable to any town, any city that you're living in, and so forth. So one of the reasons why I decided to kind of jump on board, like start testing this out, is because number one, I want to talk about operating companies in a way where people talk about raising a lot of money. We've raised a lot of money, but people are still forgetting about the fundamentals of building good operating companies. And then second, building a community of like these types of people coming and being interviewed, these types of engineers and scientists who are building just like crazy shit. Like Starlink is a perfect example of that. Starlink, it doesn't make any sense to the common person. the common person doesn't really understand why Starlink is even so important. But if the Earth is going to move forward into this futuristic world, the whole world needs to be connected. But more importantly, it's not just about connectivity; it's about the ability to send terabytes of data in an instant and to build that infrastructure. Because we're not going to be able to get to that world where we're having autonomous cars and your whole house is totally smart and you're able to truly tell what's happening with the weather. You're not actually using a weatherman, you're using Alexa. So I think, for me, going back to our earlier comments, being able to just simply be online in real time, having conversations with people, sending them a text, say, jump on, let's talk, build an audience, support that. That's pretty crazy. It's like people are looking for information in real time. I think people can find information, but it's really difficult for them to find wisdom. And so, yeah, we're just living in this crazy world where, like, hey, who thought that you can send a text message to somebody, jump on and have a meaningful conversation, and kind of move ideas around. So,
well, yeah, I mean, like innovation right now is like going at like totally exponential speed, right? Especially with all this like metaverse, Web3, and all that kind of talk, right? Like that, like just all that stuff that came up now, like it totally changes everything, right? Like like the whole NFT thing, and that, I mean, like if you look into that more, like like the world sees all that hype of NFTs, but what that actually means is like like the ability to do so many things, right? Once you're able to actually like like trace like digital like assets, right? And identity and all that kind of stuff is like that totally opens up like unlimited possibilities, right? Like once you're able to, like, this is like right now it's still like you're having meetings on Zoom, but that is still so like primitive, right?
yeah,
Like it's still so hard to like, it's so far away from the actual experience of being in the same room, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing, it's been interesting to follow that. I've followed NFTs and have I have another company called Creativology Studios, which I launched in 2017, and that was the one that was a company that I was using to build all my stuff. And one of one of our main artists started getting requests and like requests to build and design NFTs. And so the last like probably 6 months is him designing, like going out and designing the NFTs for different organizations because they don't have that capability in-house. But they're seeing the significant value of having an event, doing an auction with some art, and then having a digital version of that available, right? Or the idea of holding, like we went to a comedy show just last weekend, and the comedian through Ticketmaster sent some NFTs as part of you going to the show. And so there's going to be a percentage of those NFTs that are not going to hold value in the way, like a monetary way.
How about like 99.9%?
Yeah,
like, because right now it's like a cash grab, right, for so many people.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's kind of like there's Creativology Studios, one of my favorite websites. It is a cash grab, 100%. It's like ICOs and so forth, and I agree.
But there's something there for sure.
There is something there. I think I never subscribed to the Bored Ape stuff. But I did subscribe. Cleta and I both kind of subscribed to I don't know if you ever downloaded this app before, but it's let me just bring it up here. It's called Vive, and they're based out of Malaysia, and they have this thing called Vive Digital Collectibles. And it's really fascinating because it's a closed ecosystem. So, you know, in the case of the other major players, like the Bored Apes of the world and so forth, the user has to acquire a specific amount of information in order to complete a transaction. There's probably 3 things you got to do. You got to get a wallet, you got to get buy some Ethereum, and you got to do another thing. In the case of Vive, which is based on Malaysia, you can download this application right now. And the smartest thing that they did is they created licensing agreements with all of these major brands, Marvel, Disney, whoever it is. And let me just go to this. I'll show you. And you can buy the digital download, whether it be an actual comic book, which is a digital download, which has value, or you can buy like an NFT. And the really interesting part about all of this is that you can also then sell it in that marketplace. So the moment you buy it, you can see the value of it going up. And that is something that these other NFTs can't do. Like, you can buy an NFT through one of these other marketplaces, but you actually have no real understanding of what the value of it is in real time. And it's very difficult to I think, track that. And I think, sorry, final comment is that the Vives of the world, where you have the ability to, where a brand has the ability to push an NFT or digital collectible into a marketplace, they have drops that actually get sold out in literally milliseconds globally. And there's YouTubers, you can Google this or YouTube it. There are YouTubers that are like talking about the drop before it happens, and everybody's like, oh shit, I didn't get my NFT, fuck this, blah, blah, blah. But then literally they're reselling it in like 10 minutes or whatever. I think that's a really interesting future for NFTs, where you have that combination of buy, sell, hold, read marketplace.
Yeah, I think there's like so many use cases. Like the thing of like, like let's say you're like you don't want to go through the traditional, like you're an artist, like let's say you're like you make music or something, and you don't want to go through the traditional gatekeepers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a small group that you offer them a token, and they get to, because they purchased at a low point, but let's say your first album, like they get a certain percentage or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And as you get more successful, then they get to, because they supported you at the beginning, they get to reap the rewards of that first album or whatever, right? The more popular it gets, right? Just things like that. And I mean, it's very interesting how Bored Ape is like their IP, like you can do whatever you want with your Bored Ape, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go and sell merchandise and all that kind of stuff, like whereas CryptoPunks, you couldn't do that, right? So I mean I didn't really, because I've been kind of going down this rabbit hole of crypto and like Web3 and like NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
And also partly because like Mika's been doing a lot of art stuff, so we're trying to basically look into how she can, because this is a thing, right? Like it was she was, before this whole NFT thing and crypto thing, she was already starting to, like, even from photography and like and just doing a lot of artwork on, like she was just doing it on Instagram. But there was always this thing where like digital art is kind of like worth nothing, right? Even like photos, right?
Yeah.
But so this whole movement, even though it's like you still have to provide value and actually have people that actually connect with your art. For creators, it's like a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Because people would always go like, like this is just a freaking picture cop, like right click save whatever that
Yeah.
the meme, right?
Yeah.
But now this has created that like idea in the heads of people that this is like this is the only, even if you have a copy of this is the real thing, right?
Yep.
And it's interesting how like people can actually, they're able to actually feel like, yeah, this is, I have something unique here, even though it's digital.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the failure of the market early on to recognize that value is really fascinating, because you could collect T-shirts offline and they would hold value because there's just simply a community of people that believe that those T-shirts hold value.
Yeah.
So why not have the same thing? I think that your point is the smart contract enables this thing to now have significant value because it creates a unique ID for it. Whereas before we weren't able to do that with art and so forth. I think that other compelling piece of being able to make money consistently, that use case of the Van Gogh sold only once, the guy who built the Van Gogh, whatever Van Gogh has, only makes that $1 the first time, but never gets made in perpetuity. I mean, now that you can make it in perpetuity, I mean, that's just massive. That's massive.
That's awesome. And it's kind of like a win-win for everyone involved. Like that's the interesting thing. It's like, yeah, the people that the gatekeepers that kind of like I mean a lot of times they provided some value back in the day because they had to, it was like technology cost more, and but now technology is like just getting cheaper by the day, right? For everyday users, that like the gatekeepers aren't like needed anymore, right? Not as much. So yeah, but traditionally it's always been the case where yeah, the artists or the creators that actually deserve most of the money weren't getting as much. And also like Web 2, it was always about like you are the product, right? For most of the, and that's where you see like nowadays, like, oh my god, like when you look at the amount of advertising and like on even like decent sites, right? I think I was looking at The Verge, and even then there's so much like advertising that's like the experience is so bad, right? Like Google, like they serve up so many ads now, it's crazy.
Well, this issue, like a lot of that, I still have some portfolio companies that were in e-commerce. This last 6 months have been brutal. Like their cost per acquisition has gone through the roof, and they can no longer rely on Google or Facebook for users. And so they're looking.
And then you have like Apple like blocking ads, right?
Oh well, that that changed the game. That was like a game changer.
Yeah.
Basically, any owner was like, analytics is basically now useless.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going on with the devices. You legitimately can't track second time purchase. There's just so many KPIs. You just like, it's just like whoosh, gone.
Yeah. And I study SEO a lot, and I mean, obviously people will have to go more at the SEO route in some instances, but even then, like now you have like AI content, right? And so it's totally like there's so many like software things where like they have like natural language processing where like if you write content with certain keywords, then then you can gamify like the Google like search algorithm. Like, so you've got all this like crazy, people spinning up content like really fast with AI, right? So like,
do you have any examples of marketplaces or services that are doing that right now?
yeah, Surfer. I'll show you. Can I actually share with this? Yeah, I can.
Can you?
I think. Let's see.
Let's see. I don't know. It's the second time.
Sharing is easy to monitor. Do you have a large monitor or small monitor?
I have a big monitor.
Okay, let's go. Okay, put you on the side here.
This is crazy. This is crazy how easy that was. What the frick?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. This is insane. While you do that, I'm just going to go and I got to blow my nose. One second. Back.
So like, I like, let's say you, like, this is tool called Surfer. Basically it helps with content writing, and it can analyze things like if you have a search term, like it can analyze, let's see, Surfer. Like today I was just doing this, how to make generative art. Like I was kind of using it to do some research. But it gives you like kind of like data, like you can see, compare like the first 10 results, like actually first 50 results of the results for the search term. And you can see, and because like what people have been doing is they've been analyzing like, okay, let's see like the first on different metrics, like this is like how many words per for the top like search results, like on average, how long is the content, and they're trying to gamify that, right? And like what kind of keywords are being used, like the popular words that are being used. But so, and there's also, so like what people are using for like creating content now is still like you can type in the term you want, and then like how to sell NFTs. If you're writing an article on that, then these are things that they've suggested, right?
Wow.
Like terms, and you should use it this many times. And then if you have NLP, which is natural language processing, that's what I think Google algorithm uses. for their kind of algorithmically to kind of determine if like these certain words represent a certain topic. And so if you use these, then you're gonna like the chances of you ranking higher is better, and they give you like scores, right? And there's something, and then there's this thing called audit. Like if you were actually ranking, wait, analyzer. Yeah, if you have like a top, like let's say you were already ranking at like the fourth, yeah, let's say you're working on the fourth position and you want to go higher, right? If you do the audit here, it'll actually tell you, it does a comparison to see like, yeah, you're not using like some of these keywords and like, and just stuff like that, right? So like it's totally being gamified in this way. But I just use this to kind of like get a to do research and sometimes like yeah, just get a better like a sense of like what people are actually doing, like what kind of content is actually ranking.
And is this a paid component?
Yeah, this is paid service. Yeah.
So it's Surfer SEO.
SEO. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever used Ahrefs?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, Ahrefs is kind of awesome for just general, because this is more for like content and like on page kind of analysis, but Ahrefs is pretty amazing to like scope out like just like how a website is doing in general, and like more kind of competitor analysis, I find.
Yeah, that's it seems pretty powerful.
Yeah, because you're not really like, you're looking at like it's kind of you're basically looking at whatever the top results are and taking a look, instead of having like some kind of fixed set of rules. You're just looking at each search result and analyzing what's working and try to mimic that as closely as possible. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, like you have to like writing content is just the best thing, but you have to balance that with the reality of just certain kind of data points to make sure you have a chance of doing well. Because like besides all this like kind of data, like I'm sure Google actually looks at things like, how, like even if they put you like, yeah, you look good from like
a technical
from the metrics and all the technical kind of standpoint, they're still looking probably at your Google Analytics stats, like how many people are actually, after they click on your or your blog post, like how long are they actually staying on your site and things like that, right? Yeah, so I think there's a combination of that stuff too.
Yeah, it's actually surprising how important the technical side is still.
Yeah.
Versus like a brand being seen that like clearly, if you tweet multiple times a day, there's obviously some type of value associated with that in the algorithm. But still, I actually don't think that supersedes the technical stuff. Like you still have to have all the technical stuff done really well to kick ass and be ranked properly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, so even though like some people think it's, it's garbage or whatever, like SEO, Like, but there's a reason why it's just becoming a larger and larger industry, right?
Well, even now, I mean, this is the problem is, you know, how do you've got multiple problems with these e-commerce companies. You've got CPAs that are going higher on all platforms. You have, if you're an e-commerce company, you're really concerned about first time and second time conversion rate. So before, if your CPAs were steady, you didn't really have to be concerned about when the second time purchase is going to be. But now your CPA is going up because, you know, there's just literally a limited amount of people that are actually searching for that handbag that you're selling. So you're competing against Nordstrom's, who probably has $1 million a week ad budget, and the littlest guy on Shopify.
Yeah.
And then you've got this issue of not understanding if the algorithm is going to bump you off of wherever you're at. And the crazy part is that people are not creating content for the long game. Like, they still aren't convinced that it's something that they should have been investing in for like even during COVID. I've had founders talk about like, oh, you know, we're just going to keep optimizing our ROAS on Google. And I'm like, what?
Well, like, I know, like, it's such a hard thing to get buy-in on. Like right now, like Highway 3 is doing, like, they have this, they're kind of split out like two business models, right? Like, we have the traditional kind of like contracting software kind of thing, and then they have this other group where they're doing kind of Atlassian consulting, right? Where they do migrations, and like we're a silver partner for Atlassian, and but so like we're creating like content to like for the site, right? But like one of the owners is leading this, and she's like, just, she probably Atlassian, someone told at her, like, is asking for metrics, so she's doing like, we're doing SEO kind of, like, we're just putting out content, but she doesn't really like she's just okay with like putting out like, you know, like, oh, we put out like an article, like, you know, every week, but she doesn't really care about like actually like measuring the metrics, like, and actually seeing if you're actually going up the rankings. So it's very frustrating because like it's just such a long-term play, right? And people can't, like, they can't think in that second order kind of way, right? And SEO is just, it's hard to get buy-in, right? Because you're not going to get results. Like, sometimes it takes, you know, years, right?
Yeah, and these folks don't understand that. They don't understand that the power, if you start creating content and you continue to do it, technically there should be some weight associated with your URL, which would then actually increase and let Google know that, hey, you're creating quality content. Therefore, the frequency to which your content gets created, if that keeps increasing and it's a value, technically the time it takes for you to get ranked on Google should also increase. You know?
Yeah.
Because that totally makes sense. Like, if Google's
well, it does probably, like, the crawler, like, you know, like when you're a news site, the crawler isn't gonna hit your site as much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing the other thing that you just reminded me of is the crazy thing with email, like what's going on. The iOS update fucked Klaviyo, fucked all these mail programs. So there's literally no way to understand what's really happening when it comes to the issue of deliverability. I was on a call with a Klaviyo rep a while ago, and I said, look, where in Klaviyo is there an actual metric telling us what your deliverability is? So to your point, if you're a brand new URL or brand, you're probably having deliverability issues because you haven't been around as long. So you really don't know if you're going to get into the inbox, or God knows what's happening with iOS or whatever's going with update. And if you're an older brand, you still don't know what the hell is going on. So everyone is reverting to just text, emails, but that is really shitty if you put your brand hat on, because like, fuck, if you are a brand, you want to do more than just send text, in your emails. And so it's just a really weird time for email. So then the point of that is that it is so helpful to have that content that lives there with whatever you want to do. You can do a really beautifully designed page with maybe a little bit of content, which is really highly, targeted, but then have a GIF that's doing something crazy or whatever, like that's on brand, right? Like that's the end goal, is to create a level of experience, especially in this potentially looming recession where you have to create a sense of differentiation,
Yeah. Yeah, differentiation is absolutely, like, everyone has to become a media company now, right?
Exactly. And that,
Like, yeah.
and that's why I was going to say that's why I'm doing this, is because this has always been the power, is to verticalize and have your own channel to be able to push out, because we're now at a state where there's the level of disinformation is just hits every vertical.
Because now when you buy something, you actually want to see like you want to go and be able to check something, like where you can, like a YouTube channel or whatever, right? Like where you can actually see what the company's about. Like before, like you didn't even need a freaking static like web page, right? Like, but now it's like people want to see the why of like whatever purchase they're making, right? Like the company behind that, and like for me, like I find I wanna see a certain level of humanity too, right? Which is kind of interesting how, like, and there's so much garbage content that now you have to produce real good content, which for me is like awesome, because like it just means that like people who have always had the idea to deliver a lot of value is like they're gonna win. Like the people that thought like they could just get away with crap, like they can't win anymore, right? So that's awesome.
Scumbags, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And I really didn't like Gary Vee when he first came out. Like, Cleta was always like, watch Gary Vee, etc. And I said, like, he's really not my cup of tea, right? Like, I don't disrespect him. I don't think anything he's saying is not valid. I just, for whatever reason, I just can't connect with how he's doing what he's doing. This is probably like 6-7 years ago. And of late, I don't know what it is, but I've started to spend some more time listening to some of the things he's been talking about and agreeing. I've thought them, and he's vocalized this idea of you can create content, and if you're worrying about the KPIs right away, you're going to lose. But if you're just focused on like saying, I don't give a fuck, and I'm just going to create the content and I'm just going to do it, ultimately the Jason of the world who disliked you 7 years ago is going to come around, because you're not playing the short game. You're playing the long tail game.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to get a customer for 12 minutes or 12, hours. You're actually trying to get them for 12 years. So the content you're creating, you're going to give away stuff that's really going to invoke some level of emotion. And even if that's dislike, that's still good because you're still in their brain, And I just came to that kind of realization over the last few weeks.
Yeah, Gary Vee is interesting. Like obviously he's been able to really, like, he was to this game, like he got this game like really early on, I think, and he's just really good at kind of like reading the trends, and he's an operator, so like he's like, how he learns is like not through like content, right? Like he just does things and then he figures it out, right? Like he's interacting on Instagram with whoever, and then he makes connections by doing, right? So that's why he's he's been so right on a lot of things, and but yeah, he's still like, I mean, sometimes he always says he has so much empathy, but sometimes he just does not have empathy. I feel like I don't know how much content of his you've watched, but like, yeah, he's like he says that quite often. He has like so much empathy or whatever.
Well, yeah, lately I know I've watched. He said he's had a comment about a lot of founders these days are building based on like old world, we got to beat them, fuck them, old world war like mentality. And Gary Vee saying that he's coming from a place of gratitude now, where he's been giving away all of his free content. But that's, I agree, that can't be true, because in his head he must be like, fuck you guys, like he can't be like all the time positive energy dude.
Well, I mean, I'm more like he has empathy, but I just think that like there's a part of him he's so like kind of narcissistic. Like there's a part of him that is like that. So yeah, even though he says he's so empathetic, and a lot of times it feels like he's just not even listening to the other person. Like I don't know about his interviews of late, but a lot of times he's just like constantly cutting off the other person, right?
Yeah, for sure. He you ever use the Cameo app?
No, I just saw the Island Boys one time on them.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So during this year I had
I mean, it's just like some random people like that you can actually ask them to like say hi to someone or.
Yeah. So there's, famous people that are on there that you can pay or whatever.
Yeah.
So one of my close friends, he lives very close to me, Philip, and Philip works for Silicon Valley Bank, and Philip has been like bitching, complaining about how he needs to like leave Silicon Valley Bank and start, something. And he's a business partner of mine. He's been a business partner of all the little things I've ever done. He's a finance guy, so he's always very helpful because he sees things that I don't see. But he is technically a real entrepreneur who just wants to go off and do something. But he's been, he's very regimented. He wants to he got the house, and then got the kid, and then got the marriage, and then got an MBA, and then now, now he's like, fuck. Now I'm like fucked because I'm like working for Silicon Valley Bank, and I fucking hate all these people. Anyways, long story short is I was like, oh fuck, I want to create like a video for this guy for Christmas to like say, hey, you need to go and do this. I believe in you. So I found this comedian on TikTok. His name is Nazim Naziri, and I could probably bring up. I can share my tab now. Got your tab there.
Do I have to unshare or something?
Yes, I can share mine. Okay.
Giving them public speaking tips in their bathroom.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is Gary Vee's TikTok. This is literally 23 hours ago. So the guy on the left is this guy.
Shit for like 17
He's
years.
from Ontario.
Tips for free. Okay.
So here is my screen. Look at my screen.
Yeah, bro, like,
And this is the
NFT.
guy I hired him to do a video.
Okay, bro, like garage sales.
I've been following all 4 of the impersonators pretty carefully. Like stuff's happening for them. They're getting more shows, more money, more opportunity.
Is he the best impersonator?
This guy's a fucking beast.
All right, so basically, I'm looking now to get into the public speaking.
Like, if I were you, I would be calling every single house in the United States of America. Okay, giving them public speaking tips in their bathroom, shower, like fucking garage. Yeah, in the garage. Getting shit for like 17 years, doing tips for free, okay?
He's an impersonator, right?
You have a fucking wife? Yeah, NFT? Yeah, which is basic as fuck, but nonetheless, very pretty name. Garage sale.
I I've been following all 3-4 of the impersonators pretty carefully. Like a lot of good stuff's happening. They're getting more shows, more money, more opportunity.
Is he the best impersonator?
This guy's a fucking beast.
All right, so basically, I'm looking now to get into the public speaking.
Like, how are you? I would be calling them every single house in the United States of America. Okay, giving them public speaking tips in their bathroom, shower, fucking garage. Yeah, in the garage. Like shit for like 17 years. Doing tips for free. Okay,
You're fucking be successful, okay, my man? All right?
Yeah, bro. Like, are you making this an NFT? Yeah. Fucking blueberries.
I'm not making this now.
Okay, bro.
Okay, so this happened near Christmas. So then check this
I've
out.
been following all 3-4 of the impersonators pretty carefully. Like a lot of good stuff's happening for them. They're getting more shows, more money, more opportunity.
Okay, here we go.
Is he the best
This
impersonator?
fucking
This
Gary
guy's a
V.
fucking beast.
All right, so basically, I'm looking now to get into the public speaking.
Like, how are you? I would be calling them every single house in the United States of America. Okay, giving them public speaking tips in their bathroom, shower.
So he's now, anyways, this guy's basically blowing up.
Yeah.
And
shit for like 17 years doing tips for free. Okay,
and you know, you made a comment about like Gary Vee kind of cutting people off. I think he definitely does that. But the interesting point about this narrative is that this comedian guy has been like posting for ages, and he really, like, if you see some of the stuff, you're just gonna be like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that crap. But some of the stuff like he's hit, like the Gary Vee impersonation and stuff like that, was just, you know, on trend. And he has just been posting. And while it is comedic to say just keep posting, ultimately, clearly the data supports that it is the thing to do. Like it is, you know, if you're true to what your voice is, you're gonna get people. There's billions of people in the world. There's someone out there that's gonna agree with whatever the fuck you're saying. And I think that's the interesting thing of how do you wrap around that as a brand, as an executive, and then not only do you like continue to invest in that, even if you don't have the KPIs, but then when you do start getting the KPIs, how do you leverage that but still maintain authentic? These are the interesting, you know, battles I think of content right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, content, like there's like when I look at how, you know, Mika, like even when she was doing photography and now when she's like doing her art, like it's like you keep posting content, but it's hard to know like which one's gonna pop it. Even if like let's say like for forever, like you don't like there's not much reaction, but then all of a sudden it keeps getting a bit better. You get better reactions, and then you're gonna have certain pieces of content or pieces of art where it's, you know, it starts getting like you hit a threshold where you start, you know, there's just more like reaction and more followers or whatever. And it's hard to say, right? Like a lot of times that's when like that overnight success thing comes into play, right? But then like a lot of times when that happens, it's like that person's been doing it for like 10 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's what everyone sees, right? That one moment where when they've actually just been like working all along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting, and you know, control is such an interesting thing. Like to your point about the verticalization, where literally every brand should be their own media outlet, right? To like remove the risk that they have of depending on these paid media sources. I think this is the thing that's kind of come around with Web 3.0 and correlating to cryptocurrency and smart contracts and so forth, is that number one, decentralization is taking place. The governments want to stop it. I mean, this whole idea of Trudeau telling Coinbase now that every single time a transaction takes place over $1,000, they have to report it with a name.
that's crazy.
That's fucking crazy. That's fucking
like, well,
totally against the whole idea of cryptocurrency.
Yeah. And yeah, that was that like that's crazy. And also the fact that he pulled the emergency act for like nonviolent protests, like, you know, and also just people that, what was it, like, if they donated over like $25 or something, their freaking accounts are frozen. That's like, that's, yeah, like
Communism.
the reason why that was so shocking, like, and effective to wake up the world that something like Bitcoin and things like that are required is because it was Canada, right?
Right.
Like the last place, or one of the last places anyone would have thought that would have happened would be Canada, right? Because it's seen as this like totally like, you know, free kind of human rights like kind of place. But yeah, I think I read somewhere where, yeah, like sometimes like democracy is actually very similar to communism in many ways. So like control is very centralized in both of those yeah, systems. So
I'm going to share. How has this been? Am I a little bit louder now? I just increased my volume.
no, it's good. No,
share.
this is awesome. Like the screen sharing is like really intuitive and easy.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
So like this is like one of the things I'm testing right now. Let me zoom in. So with founders, I kind of walk them through this risk exercise. Something I'm going to do as like one of my first videos. I'm going to post a TikTok, and then I'm going to kind of create a series on YouTube about this. But basically, I run them through a risk matrix. You know, the excess is rare to very likely, and then you've got kind of trivial to impact. And a lot of these companies, they're not doing that. They're not listing out, you know, the risks and building a quarterly plan that, you know, associates with these top 3 risks, right? Like in this case, this is actually probably a real-time thing where the company is raising money. So obviously the things they're most concerned about, not closing, you know, $500,000. They potentially could have a poor fundraising strategy, which would basically screw the business. And they're seeing some poor retention issues right now. And, you know, a lot of these companies, when they're trying to figure out what to do, they don't even do this simple exercise. And they don't look at their profit and loss statements, and they don't align these, kind of batch these goals, if you will, start putting them together in like little clumps. These are big goals that could be worked on a quarterly basis, but if you put them together in like chunk it out into 3 major problems, and then align your profit and loss statement with it, you can solve these issues pretty quickly. But again, I'm just sharing this because I want to see what it looks like. Does it look good? Can you see this stuff? Do I have to zoom in for you to see this? Like if I zoom in there, can you read it?
No, yeah, it looks good. I can read it. Yeah. Even the original view.
The original view you can even do. Hey, that was like at 100 and.
I mean, it obviously kind of depends on.
Because you got a bigger screen, right?
Yeah, I got an ultra wide, but let's see. Let me put it on. Yeah, you would probably need to
zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
Crazy, hey? Man.
Yeah. What's that behind you?
This is a Star Wars poster. An original Star Wars poster.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I watched Back to the Future yesterday.
Oh, that's such a good movie. On Netflix or just something else?
Netflix, yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched that forever. Yeah, that was good.
What was I going to say? Yeah, the Web3 stuff is interesting. I have this website that I use. Show it to you quickly.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try and get into some of that stuff. Like, I mean, Mika wants to make some NFTs, so I'm gonna just use that to try to dig into that a bit more.
Yeah, let me know. We have a client right now which is launching. Let me see here. Launching this called Crypto Cricketers. We did all the artwork for them.
Yeah.
And they've created this mini website. I have another. If there's a senior developer here in Toronto that has done all the smart contracts and stuff, if you want to just have a chat with him as well, let me know. He's also on Signal as well, and so like these guys are focusing on crypto cricketers, I guess. Here they are.
Is it play to earn model?
Yeah, they're really trying to work on the play to earn. So this is a very interesting model. So the very quick of it is that the founder also owns a cricket team in India. And so he has a community that he can tap into. And
well, wait, when you say play to earn, they're actually playing physically?
No.
Or is it in a game kind of world?
This will be a digital game.
Okay.
But the point of me mentioning this offline community is that he's trying to connect and create this omni-channel approach to his NFTs, meaning that he already has like kids that go and they learn how to play cricket. He has a community offline, so he's going to offer these NFTs to that offline community where they can use them in offline events in his world of cricketing.
Right.
But then also use these online in some capacity. So,
And they're gonna have more of a connection because they're naturally interested in cricket already. So
yeah. The other thing of note, we're working with Dapper Labs with this. And Dapper Labs is one of the advisors.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. So if you want to contact a Dapper, let me know. But Dapper, when these first original NFTs were created, I think we must have created like 9,999 of them or something, like programmatically.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the net,
go ahead.
Yeah, but the net of it is that, they came back and they just said like, look, it probably makes a lot more sense to just create a smaller amount in the first drop. Because what we've been seeing, and obviously due to the last quarter, seeing a decline in like successful drops, right? So that was another piece of feedback. If you're going to do a drop, maybe just do a few, keep them on OpenSea or something like that. Have a website like this that's set up. I can make an intro. You're on Signal? Are you on Signal?
Nope.
Okay. Are you on Skype at all still?
I mean, I can get on Signal, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still kind of too like new
Too early.
too early to actually like have like, to actually be able to converse like intelligently.
Got it. Well, if you ever need that, this guy's a really great guy. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's doing this drop.
You're talking about the senior dev that's doing the work here.
Yeah, he's doing all the smart. He's worked on a lot of crypto currency products in Toronto. He actually works with a publicly traded company, and he has a whole dev shop that really kind of within 30 days can put together, the website, put together all the smart contracts related to, if they're on Ethereum, and put that all together. So maybe just even a conversation just to learn more about what the process is like. He's a really cordial guy. So if you're just like, hey man, I'm just still in the learning phase, he's still just a good guy to chat with. So
So this guy he's based in Toronto, and he has his own shop. You were saying?
Yeah, this developer, he's not the founder of this. He's one of the co-founders of this, but the guy I'm referencing right now, let me bring up my signal. His name is Sarut. I can actually send you his information. Open up my messaging.
Yeah, I'll get signal soon here. Okay, thanks.
And then let me go to LinkedIn, find him. Anyways, yeah, he's just a great person to chat with. He's a really honest person. He's been doing development for a while. He's part of my circle of people. I'll show you his LinkedIn information right now. LinkedIn if you want.
Yeah, it's like once I started digging into the NFT world and crypto world, I was surprised that because I had always because Dapper Labs spun out of Axiom Zen, right?
Yeah.
And that was there were very few companies that I was actually interested in joining in Vancouver.
Hmm.
And Axiom Zen was always one that looked super interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I never ended up applying. But then as I dug down, it went down the rabbit hole, I realized that I was watching a podcast called Overpriced JPEGs. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Oh, that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah. So there's this woman who was Andrew Yang's finance person on his when he was running for president.
Yeah.
Yeah. She pivoted to
Oh wow.
to NFT world now, right?
Hmm.
So she has this podcast called Overpriced JPEGs, and she was interviewing one of the main guys from Axiom Zen that created CryptoKitties, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
And so I was like, it kind of came full circle. Like, holy crap! That's from Axiom Zen, and I just didn't. It's just crazy to think that that was happening within that downtown core, that all these kind of pioneers of the NFT space were were right here. So
yeah, that's another good example of just all these groups of people. I wanted to show you something as well. I know you probably have to go, but I'll just quickly show you something. So at Carvalho Capital, we have a B2B subscription to pitchbook.com, and I can search through all the different investments. And this is going to Crypto Canada search of investors investment. And I can actually pull out, if you ever want, I can pull out a breakdown of companies that have recently gotten investment. So I can actually pull out the investor names as well.
Yeah.
Let me just see here. So you got Kevin O'Leary has done 2 investments.
He talks about how he was investing into. He's been into the crypto stuff of late. And,
yeah, I mean, I think he launched his own something cryptocurrency as well. These guys, bigdigitalassets.com, are out of Vancouver. They've been doing some interesting stuff. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're
sounds kind of familiar. Yeah. I've seen that on a job post from them.
Oh, really? Hey, okay.
Yeah, I think I saw it. Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, it's just interesting because I try to keep track of what the deals look like just to see kind of where things are trending.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of noise. There's investors that are definitely investing. I thought I had another one here. I thought I had another list here, but yeah. Anyways, it's definitely very cool to see Canadians kind of come out of nowhere and start to kind of lead things. I think the Dapper guys are fascinating because they're really kind of operating in the really hardcore B2B space, like the enterprise level, like the fact that they have licensing contracts with the NBA and stuff.
Yeah, Top Shop, and I mean they're kind of like the OGs, right? So
Yeah. So they're going to be around. The question is, how long will they be around for? I don't know because, how is this thing going to morph? You saw even AMC start to get into NFTs for movies. The idea of like all this kind of stuff. So it's interesting. Just the final comment on the crypto cricketer stuff. The reason we were even talking with Dapper was because the difference between crypto cricketers and say the Top Shot guys, is that Top Shot requires a license from the NBA, whereas with crypto cricketers, the founder, his thought process is to use art and creativity to develop NFTs that are focused on something that people love, which is cricket, which is a massive sport, obviously. And and we'll see if it's true. And he's trying to raise money right now for this. Is that can you create an NFT that's not based on reality, but based on a fundamental connection of values between two individuals? So, for instance, if we love Dragon Ball, we don't get the licenses for Dragon Ball, but we create kind of Dragon Ball-esque, NFTs. And is that enough for you and I to like buy them and then trade them and create a camaraderie around that? That's a very interesting thought process for the artist and creator.
I think it's totally possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was gonna like the Chinese vampires.
Yeah.
Like, because right now I'm just kind of like in experimental phase, and I want to just do something fun, right? Like I don't care. Like I'm just gonna use pseudonymous kind of thing, and like just roll something out because I want to like part of the fun of NFT is that like it's the intersection between like art and technology, right? Hardcore technology. And that kind of like helps like and branding and everything is like intersecting. And so to me that's like super fun, right? Like and so like I'm still at the point where I don't know how to write a smart contract, but I'm sure I'll be able to pull it off just because like I just from like the tech background doing it so long, like I'll figure it out, right? And yeah, so I was thinking hasn't been decided, but today I was messing around with like how to generate like generative art in Python, right? And yeah, so I got something generating just off of some like kind of some project.
Script online?
Yeah, and but like
Cool.
the idea is I think I'm gonna like my first idea was to do some kind of like Chinese vampire thing. Like even though like that is like kind of like very niche,
Mhm.
but like the thing is like there's well this is totally just for play, right? But I know there's like those hardcore people that like it's like super like they grew up watching these kind of like
For sure,
Chinese, like just things like that, right? Like
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's great. I think there's that use case of the guy who just constantly been posting NFTs to OpenSea, and then finally one of them just like took off, and it was like a whole series just ultimately made him like $1 million or something like that. So like the risk versus reward it's more in the favor of the latter. The risk is very little.
Yeah, it's like the I don't know if you read like Anti-Fragile, like the risk reward asymmetry, like it's just off the charts if you win, right? And then like what is it like you're freaking like you pay like $100 I don't know what it is, like
whatever
to,
the gas fee or whatever is, or whatever.
the initial cost of getting onto, because you can have it so that like the person that actually minting pays the cost, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the
so
equivalent of like eating 2 Big Macs or like 3
yeah,
Big Macs. Like
yeah.
if you want to rationalize it,
Yeah.
it's very low, you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh shit, I won't eat 3 Big Macs this week. Let me just fucking
Yeah.
mint my NFT.
Yeah, so like the upside is just so huge, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the downside is, oh no one bought my freaking NFT.
Yeah. And it's really exciting because, you know, there's a bit of a quote unquote downturn, or like we were saying, the 99% of NFTs are, they might go to zero. Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
But, you know, it really just kind of is in line with the idea of content, that if you just figure an efficient, effective way to produce content rapidly, you can ultimately win. And that, I think, is the ultimate underliningness of all of this, I think, you know?
Yeah, and the cool thing is just like there's I just feel like from a creator and like people creating like just things,
Mhm.
it's been so stagnant for so long, right?
Right.
Like even even Netflix is bringing good things because like they're like Hollywood, like you're good, like for so long, like they have gatekeepers that like they only want this type of
Some
like
type of thing that's
content,
theirs.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. But now, like if you look at, I watch a lot of like Korean dramas, like
Mm.
where a lot of the Korean dramas actually originate are from webtoons, right?
Mm. Right.
And so like some webtoon gets popular,
Mhm.
and then I don't know how exactly it works, but I'm assuming it's just like, some people are just creating content that like a webtoon series, like
Mhm.
for probably no money, and
Right.
they're just creating it like YouTube or whatever.
Right.
And then it pops, and then these big, kind of Korean like companies probably
Ta-
just come in and buy, like do a licensing deal with them.
Right.
But that in that model, it's like the public is voting for what they want to get. Like they're actually, there is no like gatekeeper that actually, like no one gets to see like the certain content, right?
Right.
Because it never gets past the gatekeeper, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting big thing about content too is it just, you know, how can you just keep defining content? Like, how can you tell the audience that this is something they need to view? You know, it's kind of like the old Steve Jobs thing that like consumers don't really know what they want until it's in front of them. So
Yeah.
remove the
Yeah.
gatekeeper, go direct, you know, bango bango. You can create a huge empire. You can even you can verticalize all of that. The moment you like an NFT that hits, you can just get some t-shirts out there through Redbubble or whatever, through Shopify, you know, print on
Did you
demand.
watch the podcast with Joe Rogan and Mr. Beast?
I saw a bit of it. I haven't watched it. Should I watch
Pretty, yeah, it's pretty good.
it? The part
Just
I saw
because,
was
yeah,
the part I saw was just he was in a group, like a group of buddies that was like breaking down everything, and then ultimately started producing content based on that. Is that what you're referring to?
yeah, that podcast, but it's like 3 hours,
Oh, it's
right?
3
So,
hours. Okay.
well, that's pretty much like the
It's
typical
typical
Joe Rogan podcast, right? But it just goes into like how hardcore his process is, and
process was.
how obsessed he is. And there was an interesting dynamic too, just how he like there's a gap, right? Like how he thinks, like the younger generation, like they don't.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's just him, but like this idea of like TV and like movies is a bit different. Like they don't really like Like it totally might be just him. Like he's so obsessed that he's only watching YouTube. But like a lot nowadays, like I mean, you're unique in that you watched anime and all that kind of stuff. Like, but I watched anime, but like outside of like you being unique, and then like some Asians watching like anime back in the day, and super kind of like nerds like watching anime. But now it feels like the current generation actually, the Western, like even the younger people watch anime, which is super interesting to me. I mean, I don't think it's everyone, but it's way more mainstream than I thought, and that's kind of very, yeah, like it's just like, and it kind of felt like a lot of people don't watch movies as much as we thought. Like it's just more like Hollywood is becoming a lot more kind of outdated and old school. Like it's more kind of like Netflix, TV series, and things like that. Like and you know, YouTube and content on the
Crunchyroll.
web, right? Yeah, Crunchyroll, and yeah, things like that. So it's yeah, kind of interesting. But just like hardcore content creator, the Mr. Beast interview was kind of, the podcast was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'll mark it down to watch tomorrow in the morning.
Yeah.
The interesting comment there is I've been religious about TikTok for probably 2 years now. This year, I specifically was telling Cleta, I'm like, look, you know, like Cleta's on Facebook all the time. She's on Instagram all the time. More Instagram now than ever. I don't care for Instagram. My brain has now completely been wired to consume information in like 20 seconds. So TikTok is like the place where I consume information in real time. And as I was consuming some of this information this year, I started kind of going deeper into the TikTok world. And to your point, I came across some African Americans who are obsessed about manga. Like, it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, I know. Like,
You know what I mean?
There's like a huge, like in Canada, there's a huge flux of like Indians, and I can, like, besides like just seeing Indians everywhere in Vancouver, I can tell because like when I'm working in Victoria, like for government contracts, there's so many Indian developers now, right? In the government, and not even just Indian developers, like in government, the huge change I see is like there's tons of like multicultural kind of like Chinese and that you never previously saw in government. Like that was so interesting to me. But like back to the original point, like yeah, there's this Riaz, his name is, like a tester that I know, like on the project I'm currently working on. And he was talking about One Piece, right? And I don't know if you know, it's like an anime. It was originally a manga. It's like kind of like Japanese pirate kind of One
I haven't
Piece.
seen it, but
And
cool.
and so he was talking about it, and I'm like, it was just interesting to me that like, you know, like it's so like widespread now. Like, do you ever watch Tom Bilyeu?
No, I don't know.
He's awesome. I think you'd like him. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, he was talking about how Demon Slayer is like a super like popular anime, right?
Yeah,
And
it's big right now. Yeah.
and that anime is like bigger. It makes more money than all of like Marvel and like all of those American like kind of series, like the comic series. It makes more money than all of them. Just that one anime.
That's
and it's like mind blowing.
nuts.
Yeah.
It's just like, to your point, it's really crazy to see the expansiveness of the art type, like manga, anime, and then to see like, and I'm going to send you this TikTok, or maybe there's a YouTube channel, but they're like all of these like African Americans in the middle of America who like created this conference because they felt alienated, that they were like, African Americans love manga too, or anime as well. And all they do is like cosplay. They do all their TikToks with like manga anime references. And it's just like, it's insane. And some of them, some of them even talk about connecting with the characters in a way that you'd be like, oh, sure, Jason Argus connect with them because it kind of makes sense. They've been following them for ages. But this dude, like Monroe or whatever, is like, what the frick? Like, how is he? He's like a 6'4", like African American dude, or like a 5'1", really super skinny African dude, and they're just like super connecting with the storylines, which is really, really fascinating.
Yeah. Like it's just like the barriers have been completely
yes.
Like it's just like everyone is gonna be connected now, like more and more, like as time passes.
Yeah.
And that also means that like everyone, like the playing field is getting more and more level. Like before, Africa and like underdeveloped countries, they like naturally, like you just don't have the same opportunities, right? But now it's just like completely different.
Well, one of the theses I had for the space, the reason why I'm so focused on the space tech piece is because my investment thesis is I'm investing in founders that are building a digital frontier to reshape the human condition. So there's a bit of impact there that like, when we first started out in the internet 1.0, we were kind of starting out the tail end of the first wave of the internet, right? Which was really just infrastructure building, Cisco, Microsoft, and stuff like that. We started in 99, I think, 98, 99. And I think we all thought that it was going to transform, the world was going to be transformed, because it was. But fortunately and unfortunately, it just really went to, just capitalism, right? Like it just was like a new way to make money, a new way to do
it went the whole advertising
route. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we're at this point in time where the cost to create solutions that have direct impact on large communities is now more possible than ever. So when I was looking at a category of things that I really get excited about, I get really passionate about, that I really think if I spend my time on this for the rest of my life, I personally will feel like I'm contributing something, is the idea of the space tech community, and that the data that's being, acquired by these satellites to understand how, how climate change is working, or how these things are working, is now just making it more possible. And connecting to the anime stuff is that the founders I talk to that are building these things have this intrinsic belief that they are creating solutions for humanity, and the faces of the founders are all just like the United Nations. It doesn't matter. It could be like a little dude in the middle of some small village in India where the guy's creating some kind of SaaS product to connect to the satellites, to download and create a cloud-based solution that downloads terabytes of information extremely quickly and enables the end user to manipulate that terabyte of information to be able to send it off to some farmers. And so, to your point, it is super crazy to think that, like, minus all this politics bullshit and the stuff that we see in the news, the world is actually becoming more uniform, if that, for a lack of a better word. And that's really kind of exciting because it opens up a myriad of possibilities. Like, what will these African Americans who are ingesting all this anime and stuff like that think and do? Like, how does that change their perspective on what they do on a daily basis? Like, it's kind of mind boggling. We're just at a really cool point in human history, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, and we're going to be coming, like, like I mean, have you ever like read the book The Sovereign Individual?
I have not. No, I write that down.
Yeah,
A
it's
sovereign individual.
yeah, yeah. Basically, it talks about like it kind of forecasts the future based off of like how history has kind of repeated itself, and it makes, and it was written in I think 1997, but it predicts like so many freaking things that have actually started happening. It's kind of crazy. Like it predicts like the the emergence of cryptocurrency and then basically what actually happens when you actually have a economy that is digital, and it just talks about how like um because of how decentralization and all that kind of thing will work, naturally you're gonna have a breakdown of like this whole concept of like countries is gonna kind of start um
Mm.
disappearing,
Mhm.
because like you're like, even from the perspective like of having like one kind of like currency so that we can actually operate more effectively in the digital space, right?
Mhm.
But it'll start happening where like people won't be as tied to like one location. The concept of of a country won't
Mhm.
be as like the idea of a country, a nation state, was more necessary because of like things like wars and all that kind of stuff. But now it'll become to the point where where it doesn't make sense as much anymore.
Mhm.
And since like in the past where it really was like location, if you wanted more opportunity, then you have to go to America or like the developed countries, right?
Right.
That's where the opportunities are, right?
Mhm.
But then like it'll get to the point where technology is going to be, the cost is going to be so low, and then like with things like Starlink and everything, and then like you can access like AWS anywhere, and like it'll make it so that like that competitive advantage of like being in one country isn't like huge anymore, right? Like you can go to Thailand or whatever. So what happens is that government will probably become smaller because
Mm.
they would just won't have as much power, right? Like
Mhm.
because a lot of stuff will become like private services, because they're like with money printing and all that kind of stuff, like it's government is just going to naturally break down, right? Because they're going to become too costly
Mhm.
when technology can offer so much more, and so it becomes a thing where people start like certain, first of all, things are going to become like smaller groups,
Mm.
like so like, and then you'll have scenarios where certain countries or smaller um states are going to start offering like more lucrative like options to lure like other like entrepreneurs, or what they call in the book like sovereign individuals, to actually move to certain places.
Mm.
Like you see it already happening. The crazy thing is like El Salvador, right? I don't know if you
Mhm.
heard that El Salvador has actually made Bitcoin legal tender, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and they've started like saying, yeah, like we won't, like if you invest so much Bitcoin and come here, then you don't need to pay taxes or whatever. And it's starting to play out at a small level, right? Like,
Mhm.
and you can see like with inflation right now and all the money printing that it's already a proven fact, right? That like
Mhm.
if you manipulate, like a currency has never been able to like survive in the end, right? Like if you look
Right.
over history. So I mean, I don't believe everything in the book, but it's pretty interesting, that book, like a lot of the stuff that they talk about. Yeah, yeah,
I just ordered it right now off of Amazon.
yeah. That, and basically another one that I've heard is really like kind of like is what's happening right now is the fourth turning. And I think it's very like similar concepts, but one of the things that I think the fourth turning I've heard being talked about is that it's the idea that like once you've hit the fourth turning, that basically everything is like kind of all the structures and the systems that you have in place are like basically it's redone like from scratch, and it does kind of feel that way with like Web3 and like DeFi, like and all that. Like we're basically recreating everything right from scratch in a way. So because like the system, like it just doesn't work anymore, right? Like for if you're going to have everything on the blockchain and everything just has to be redone, right? Yeah.
So are there any other books that you've read that talk about timelines at all of this?
Well, the sovereign individual does kind of like basically the idea is that like once like even the thing is like once we get into this age, like it's just going to be exponential. So it's going to be like we've never experienced, like even like I don't know if you ever hear Raoul Paul.
No, I'll have
from Real Vision. He's like a famous kind of like hedge fund kind of guy that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, I have his books. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, he always talks about how like right now like the adoption is like way faster for like for crypto is way faster than like the internet adoption, and that adoption was like pretty fast. But you can tell like how fast like the Web3 space and crypto space is innovating. Like you can't even catch up at all, right? Like there's so much going on that you can tell that yeah, like things are going to change so fast. Yeah.
So what in 2012 I ended up have a friend that runs a company out of Sao Paulo, and called this company and essentially they're a data shop. They started in 2012 and they started putting together data and creating infographics, and envisioningtech.com is the name. And now they do a lot of work. And anyways, I ended up printing this out. I don't know if I ever shared this with you.
I think I've seen this on, I think you had it, like you had it on your wall or something.
Yeah, on the other one. Yeah, that's right. Yep. So what I'm always trying to do is I'm trying to find data points like this, where in this case, they've laid out different industries from artificial intelligence all the way to space. And then they have the year, and then they have the type of technology that's kind of emerging. And you can kind of see the clusters of technology based on the years. So if you ever see anything like this, let me know. Because I'm like, to your point, like I agree with that world that you've just stated is going to take place. My interest is try to line up more dates. Like as you can see, by 2030, these large white bubbles are consumer impact bubbles, and you're looking at Ubicom, robotics, biotech, materials, energy, and space, and then the other is geoengineering in this red vertical. And as you can see, we move away from artificial intelligence. The internet is still there. Clearly, there are not enough data points to understand what was taking place in 2012 by 2030 for internet, or 2030 for artificial intelligence. We do know that interplanetary internet is going to be obviously something huge, and we've seen that since 2020. We're about 2022. It's going to be something that's a reality. But anyways, the long story is that you see a significant amount of consumer impact in these other categories of robotics, biotech, materials, and stuff. And you can see things like swarm robotics, nanowires. I don't know what the fuck that is. Thorium reactor. I don't even know what that is. There were just words that we just don't even understand. They haven't been created, right? Like we're just living in that reality where there's language. I think that the statistic is that 75% to 80% of jobs in the next like 7 years don't have titles yet because of, to your point, these new emerging clusters of technologies or new technologies of importance are going to be created, which then are going to create their own ecosystems of jobs, which are going to be hyper focused in on, you know, those merging ecosystems. So anyways, to summarize, if you do have any data points on things like the things that you've talked about and you're like, oh shit, I just read this, send it to me. Because I'm always trying to find more information that's data driven that can point to, you know, this is a simplistic idea of showcasing what the future looks like. But and I've even told my colleague who actually developed this, and he's developed many of these, to go back to doing this more, because for any of us that are looking at building more wealth or looking at more opportunity from a business perspective or whatever, this is super helpful. Or even for the world perspective, like your point about the fact that there may be a requirement for a, you know, a passport that allows you to go to multiple countries. Well, I'm sure someone is thinking about that. I'm sure there's something like that taking place. So, you know, how do you fit that into your day-to-day lifestyle? That's the real question, is like, how do you go, okay, well, you know, the next 5 years, the sovereign individual book says, here are the things that are going to be taking place. So I'm going to create and build my life so I have, you know, me and my family have a international passport, or have started to get that process underway, right? Because by the time it's going to be really happening, we're going to be first in line to get like this international passport or whatever. Or,
Yeah,
you know, I'm going to move my finances to something different. You know, maybe there's like that neobank that's being created, or some kind of new cryptocurrency blockchain built on bank that I'm going to move all my wealth to, or something. Like, that's the thing that really kind of keeps me up, is like, to your point, things are happening at a crazy fast rate. And
Yeah.
as like a regular person, how do you stay connected to it so you can kind of, you're not going to be on the wave all the time, but you want to ride that wave, right?
Yeah, like there's another book that I want to get around to. Like The Fourth Turning is something I'm wanting to read, but
The fourth Turing.
yeah. Um and then um and then The Price of Tomorrow is something I was wanting to read too.
Price of Tomorrow. Okay.
But the author, like, he's Canadian, and and one thing he talks about is um like the exponential growth that's coming right now.
Mm.
Like, he talks about how, like, if you fold like a, I can't remember exactly what it is. Like, if you fold a paper 6 times, like, how do you, like, how much, like how big do you think that's going to get? Like, humans can't really comprehend exponentiality, because apparently if you fold it 6 times, like, it would be like greater than like the size of the earth, or something like that. Like, and that's basically why humans can't imagine how fast and how crazy changes will be. So yeah, it's basically, yeah, we have to, in my mind, yeah, there's, you kind of have to like be able to really like catch on to trends like really quick, and make moves, and like in upcoming like years, because I
Yeah,
think things are just gonna like go, like, change so much.
I think, you know, it's a very interesting skill to develop, to be disciplined on. I think COVID showed us that. I think, you know, our personal experience, I knew that Zoom as a stock was going to go crazy, you know, and just kind of like followed that in the beginning. And I remember I would wake up, we were living in the condo at the time, and I would wake up and I'd get out of the condo, and I would go to the coffee shop before things got shut down, and I would be like day trading, and it would be like between like 11 and 12 is usually when I would day trade. So I never day trade in the beginning of the day, and I never day trade at the end of the day. I always like buy in at like 11 and like get out by 12. I never keep anything overnight, especially during the market surge in that time. And it was very clear that Zoom was going to be that company that was going to lead the way, because everything was going to shut down. And they seem to have, like, again, this software is way easier than Zoom, but back then Zoom was like the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I just remember mentally making a note going, okay, it's time to act fast. Got to fucking move. And just like move really quickly and ultimately yield some type of reward for moving that quickly. And then fast forward 2 years into the future, I kind of asked myself, I looked at Gary Vee, and Gary Vee is all of a sudden pushing out his own NFT and saying, I think you watched that, he made like $70 million or something stupid like that for pushing out his own
Few
NFT.
friends or whatever.
Yeah. And to your point, and you said this earlier too, which is astute, he just kind of listened to people, got and talked to some people, started hyping it all up, and then created his own NFT and reaped the financial reward of that. And he did that in 8 months.
I mean, so like Gary
It's-
Vee is like an expert on human psychology, right? That's his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's honed that skill since like back in the day when he was running his dad's like wine business or whatever, right? So I mean, he was doing that model. He was doing YouTube, like he had his wine channel like way back when no one was using YouTube, and he was using Twitter when no one was using it. So I mean, he's kind of like
a forerunner.
like yeah, he always sees these things, right?
Yeah.
And he's always experimenting. Like he's not just thinking, right? He's doing, like, which is something I totally need to learn more, because like you learn so much from actually
Executing.
yeah from real data, right? And like
Yeah. Well, look at this, right? Like this live stream just got created. We've had a really excellent conversation. I've learned a shitload on this call. You know, we've shared quite a lot. That wouldn't have been done if either of us didn't click a fucking link. Like that's how crazy it is.
like I don't know like your
This
your
information could be
schedule.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but it'd be cool if we did this like
Yeah, my schedule's my schedule. I was always just trying to find an easy way to connect in a place where I could, you know, share things. And like fucking StreamYard just came out of nowhere where it's like,
yeah,
we can have
it's like there's no friction, right?
There's no friction. We can have these robust conversations and share things, look at things, because like conversations are really, as far as I'm concerned at this age now, conversations are not meant to be like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There are pauses. There are times where people are thinking. People may not even be saying something because they're kind of taking in the information. So you almost have to create, like you said, a frictionless environment so that you can actually have a meaningful conversation. And it's fascinating to see that StreamYard is essentially encapsulated that in his feature sets. Like this was fucking nuts. I've never, like if we tried this on Zoom, we could have done it, but it would have been a bit of a pain in the ass, I think.
Well, I mean, I mean, surprisingly, like, what is it? FaceTime has like this. I don't know if you tried it. Like, it has this like Zoom-like feature now.
Oh, it does.
Where you can just send a freaking link, and because I did it during Christmas, like to my like relatives in New York, just sent them a link.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's a browser. They open it up in the browser, and but it doesn't have like it. I don't think it doesn't have the like screen sharing capabilities, right? Which is huge. But StreamYard does it in a way that's like not kind of clunky. Like
you don't have to install anything.
Like freaking
all in browser.
Like Zoom, yeah. Like it's kind of like security issues galore. It seems like, and it has the desktop app, and then for Chrome is still Google Meet is kind of clunky. I feel, especially for screen sharing. Yeah.
I even on Google Reps, when I get on a call Google, I'm like, I'm not going to do a call with you guys. You guys are going to jump to Zoom because I can't stand how bad.
And then I don't know if you've used Teams before. I hate that.
I use it for like my foundation stuff. Like when I'm like on a board meeting, all the old people use Microsoft.
Yeah, like the government, the BC government likes to use Teams
because of security, I guess, as well.
and they have like
interfaces
deals
their-
with Microsoft. But it's I hate it. And Slack is nice, but the
I use the
video stuff
audio
isn't.
feature, but the video feature I don't use.
Yeah, it's actually really great for like kind of screen sharing because you can draw on it and for developers anyways. But it's
Yeah.
not really good for like a big kind of conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still use like Zoom for kind of stand-ups and big meetings. That's still the best, I feel, for now.
I noticed Zoom also has a feature where you can have like a whiteboard now in it. I haven't used it. I've just looked at it.
We end up using like Miro and for whiteboarding, so for retros and all that stuff.
Man, Miro is so good. So good.
Yeah.
I was so impressed by Miro when it came out.
Yeah.
I've been using this thing. You might have seen the ads. Remarkable.
Oh, I keep seeing that. Yeah, they push their ad. I've always wondered, like it a long time ago. Like I always thought it was like something that I would want. So what do you think?
I use it every day. I mean, I still have like my usual big moleskin, but like I have, I have these are all my notebooks. Oops. I have all my notebooks there and I click in and I have a daily notebook and, it's just swipe and
that
all my stuff.
So like how much did that cost?
I think about $500.
Like how good is it? Because
Remember,
right now I'm like I've gone a little kind of.
Oh yeah, yep.
A little retro here, but just because I like being able to. There's something about the physical sometimes still like being able to like have all your days like kind of. I don't know if you heard of bullet journal, but I'm kind of doing that kind of like I have all the whole week kind of like always open.
Mapped out, yeah.
I
have like kind of what. Let me show you quickly. I have it right here.
That is interesting. That's interesting though, because I've always saw that ad and it was always something that looked like I was
kind of cool.
Like I was always wondering about the execution, but if it worked, it would be like so cool, I thought. Because it's like you want that kind of like pen to paper feel. But you don't want to have paper, right? In a way, you want the good parts where you can just like be writing on the same sheet of paper, over and over, like so you don't have to use up space, right?
Yeah, I did a lot of research before I bought it, and I watched a lot of videos, and I kind of came to the conclusion that there were just two types of people. One that truly loved the idea of going back in a book to a certain point. And so what I do is I have like my book is here and I do big quarterly planning stuff.
Yeah.
Where like I create vivid visions and I cut stuff out and I have it under different things. Like I have a vivid vision for my wealth mindset. I have a vivid vision for the project I'm working on or whatever, different things like that. And then I keep it in here. And I used to have a moleskin as well, but now I literally just bring this device around. It's connected to the internet. I don't have any messaging or anything. On Google Chrome, if I want to read something, I can actually push the actual document to this. If I wanted to read it, I can mark it up. But I just have different notebooks for different things I'm working on. And I don't know. I can open something up and I can click and I can view all the pages I've done something on. Oh, where am I here? Yeah. And I can go to it if I wanted to. So there was like this comment by a user saying, "Oh, well, I can't seem to go back and find my notes or whatever." But that's not true. You can 100% go and do that. So I love it. And normally I'm definitely have been one of those types that will buy something kind of cool and techy and then never use it again.
Yeah.
But with this, I take it everywhere. The little pen snaps on like a little thing.
Yeah.
There you go. I charge it maybe every 2 weeks. And it's something I just use regularly. I erase, you just kind of go like that and you erase it. And anyways, I found it useful. It does have like a 30-day, return back policy so people can try it out. So I've seen a lot of YouTubers just like do that and they return it if they don't like it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the future from like a notes perspective. Like I feel like everything should be notable. Like you should be able to write on your screen or write on everything. It just makes it all.
Well, yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing, right? Is like if like we get into a place where the metaverse gets good enough that
Yeah.
you just don't need that like devices anymore, right? You'll go into the metaverse and set up your infinite like panels, like like having multiple like monitors and just being able to write everywhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, even the case in point with this right now, I have this issue where the camera's in front of me. And normally, you know how it is, it's very tough to get a line sight where you're lined up.
Yeah.
In the future, you would have the monitor, which it would be see-through and the camera would be looking through and you can still see all your things while you're talking to somebody and you can draw on your, on your on your device, hardware device. But we don't have that yet even. Like I've been looking at putting a teleprompter in the front here so I can always view who I'm talking to. And I could even have like the Zoom call or the call right there. So I can always look like I'm doing. Right now I've kind of got this hybrid where I've got this big monitor. I can see you. If I move the screen a little bit more to the right, I can just see your face. Still kind of look like I'm looking at the camera. But that's just such a ridiculous problem to have.
Yeah.
But if you're in the metaverse, bingo, you've probably solved that.
Yeah, obviously there's still a bunch of work to do, but I bought the Oculus 2, like the Quest 2, like during
COVID.
like Christmas. And just because I felt like I need to get a handle on like where
Understanding.
things, like how far things have come and like how real this idea is.
Mhm.
And just to get a sense of the tech, right? And like obviously the visions, like it's still not that clear, but like some of this, and I think like Facebook has never been like a hardware maker, so they're like the experience of the setup wasn't as smooth as something like Apple, but there is some stuff that is kind of crazy. Like I remember playing like a boxing game. I don't know if you ever used it before, but
I've used it. Last time I used it was in 2017.
yeah. So there's like a boxing game. I mean, like the standard like lightsaber is fun, and there's a boxing game. I can't remember. It's Fight of the Night or something like that. But I remember like playing it, and it feels like I'm really fighting someone.
Crazy.
Because I remember like playing another boxing game with the Wii, right? And I'd be like with the controller, I'd be doing this, and then it's like I should be kicking his ass in real life. I know I would be.
Yeah.
But like the timing is off, right? But when I played with the Oculus, it like when I was blocking and then
You were
when I was
blocking.
hitting, I was actually, yeah, the reaction of the opponent it felt real, right? Like
That's
I could
crazy.
actually get a real workout. And if it wouldn't be as good as the real thing, but if I was training or something for like a fight or something, if I was a martial artist or something,
Yeah,
then it would actually maybe help, I think.
because the reaction was as real time as real
Yeah.
time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
What was the name of that game?
It's a boxing game, like, hold on, let me see. Quest fight a boxing game. Wait. Thrill of the fight.
Thrill of the
I bought a bunch of games. I still haven't had time. It's been so busy. I bought like a mini golf game too.
And I would love to try a fishing game. That sounds like lame, but it would be
Odie
really
bought
cool.
Odie. After Odie, like, I showed him it, and he ended up getting the Oculus too. And he bought a fishing game.
Our newest. That would be cool. It sounds really weird, but even I have a PlayStation 4, and I only got started getting back into gaming because I saw my staff were getting back into gaming, and I would play with them at the end of the day or something like that. And so I ended up buying a console. And during COVID, I ended up buying this like fishing game because I just wanted a bit of peace and quiet, which sounded totally weird. But then I was like, whoa, man, I bet you in Oculus, they probably have this amazing fishing game, which like changes your life. So I
Yeah.
love to see something like that. Yeah, this looks crazy.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes, like when you actually go in and try to like give the guy a body shot, he'll actually come in at that same timing.
Can you hear the sound?
Yeah.
That looks crazy.
Yeah, it's very interesting, like how real it is.
He's going full on.
Yeah, you can see that guy totally. He's getting a real workout totally.
Well, because his body really thinks it's real too, Rick. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the difference?
Yeah.
This guy must. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the match ending in the first round, your winner by technical knockout, the red corner.
And it's kind of trippy how, like, with the controllers, you can pick up things and like throw like a paper airplane. Like that kind of control is possible.
And
I mean, obviously, it's
generally his punches are pretty slow. I'm popping with
What's
the
that?
jab. Pop with the jab. My jabs are really hurting him. Switch to southpaw. Same thing. Jab. 2. Switch to orthodox. 2. 1, 2, 3. All right. So, trying to lock free, keep my head off the line. punish them for going in. So the computer doing a pretty good job of keeping their hands up, but every time they try to load up some offense, that's when they pay. So I'm gonna try to get more aggressive here. To her body.
This is crazy.
Like it's really cool how like how
One,
like when
two
the
to
guy
chin. 1, 2. 1, 2 to the body. 1, 2 to the head. 3. 1, 2.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
no when he's like
I feel like he's
you
gonna
can actually accurately hit
go down and
when he's walking.
All right.
You can actually do a body shot and
130 left.
because
going on
in the
here?
past it would just be like
All right, my quest momentarily lost tracking. All right.
like, it was never that accurate.
Now, I've been knocked down once. I'm gonna try to pin him away.
Do they have
To
like
the
a
body.
karate one too? Or is it just boxing?
Just boxing.
All right, let's see if he gets up from this.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, so
He's doing a normal. Let's go
see
through.
this? So just punch out on NES. Try to go in the pocket with this guy. 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. Finding some success. You see, my punches don't have either he blocks, Peter has pretty good defense, or when I do land, my punches don't have the same pop as they do in the lower setting.
That's crazy. Like he's getting
on the
weak.
verge, getting put down. Basically, I have to be throwing the entire time. Just and he knocked me down for straight.
2, 3.
You got knocked
4,
out or knocked down.
5, 6.
All right, so
7,
that's 1 minute
8.
in. They got knocked down twice. All right, so what about a balanced approach? I'm gonna have my hands up. I'm gonna be on my bike, popping with the occasional jab, keep my head off the line, maybe work the body a bit. Kira does a pretty good job at slipping, bobbing and weaving, rolling, dodging. I'm not landing anything. 1 minute left. See, I am fortunate to have a big play space here because that actually gives me a chance, because that allows me to get on my bike if I'm in danger.
Oh, he's finally moving around at least.
And he's whipping a bit. However, I want to see if I'm hurt. I'm gonna move. Oh, still hurt. I'm gonna move. However, sometimes you gotta land some offense too. And that's when he puts your lights out.
So does it feel like there's a punch coming at your head, like in reality, like you're just
Yeah,
and that's fight.
Yeah, it does.
I'm in a corner. Carelessly drop my hands.
Like the
Ladies and
interesting thing
gentlemen,
is, as
with
soon
the
as
match
you
ending
attack,
in the
he
first round,
attacks, which
your
is something
winner by
like
technical knockout.
that you would never have happened before
The
in
blue
video
corner.
games.
right.
Not fun. Don't get
And
me
he has
wrong,
ass
it's
kicked
impossible
this
to
guy.
win. I mean, it's possible to win. However, your odds of success probably aren't that high. So you see, our damage outputs were approximately the same. However, he put me on my butt 3 times. That shows you how the scale works on Outclass. And that just shows you how difficult it is. Again, this is Mike Tyson level. You cannot make a mistake.
Oh, I totally want to try that.
All right, so I got some work to do if I want to take on Everett Price at Outclass, last the full 5 rounds, or even knock him out. I'll be working on that. So this was an episode of VR Fitness. I'll be back with more VR exercise videos, and more likely more VR boxing videos. Thank you. Peace out.
Well, like that totally makes sense. Like
If I send an email that contains typos to a potential customer, how likely are they to trust that I'll do a good job for them?
People aren't going to spend their
God, I
time
hate
trying
this
to
fucking
decipher
ad,
run-on
Grammarly.
sentence.
Tundra trackers are Para's teeny tiny VR head.
Those Grammarly ads are brutal.
Set review, HP Reverb G2 refresh review. I know what I should make this week. A Quest 2 games that I will not be including on this list. These mentions for some of my favorite PC VR titles. Probably get sucked into it and never get any.
I gotta
work
run
done.
here.
Yeah, no problem. Excellent.
We just did a Joe Rogan marathon 3-hour session.
It's good stuff, man. I love it.
Yeah, there
thanks.
was just so much to talk about. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for jumping on, man. I'm going to order those books, and let's do this again soon.
Yep.
Okay. Say hi to the wife.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Chat soon.
Yep.
Cheers.
Okay. Bye.